Welcome to Lasting Impressions with Lauren, the podcast where we explore the art of making a memorable impact in every encounter. I'm your host, Lauren Hanna, Director of First Impressions at Real News PR. Join me each week as we sit down with a diverse range of guests, from industry leaders to everyday influencers, to explore their insights, experiences, and strategies for making memorable impressions. So whether you're looking to enhance your professional presence, elevate your personal brand, or simply leave a positive impact on those around you, this is your go-to destination for all things impression management. Get ready to be inspired, informed, and empowered to make every interaction count. Welcome to the podcast where impressions aren't just made, they last. Hi everyone, my name is Lauren. I'm the host of Lasting Impressions with Lauren, and today I have on a very exciting guest. She is a shaman healer, business intuitive coach, Christina Deering.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here.
Me
I can't wait
too.
to dig in. This is gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Mhm.
So I met Christina when she was here in the Real News Studios on the Amberly Lago show. You left a great impression on me, your energy and everything. And I wanted to invite you back just to talk more about what you do. So give us an intro and tell us more about yourself. What's your personal journey in transitioning into business intuition and shamanism?
Yeah, well, so I was in marketing for 15 years. And so I just remember climbing that corporate ladder, making more money and being like, why do I feel more and more empty? I thought it was going to get easier, thought it was going to get more fun. And I just kept realizing I was working with brands that I didn't necessarily align with. I was on the agency side, but it's almost like I was selling something that my heart wasn't into, you know? And so I was like, there's gotta be something more, like, especially when I first started, I'm like, I'm 22 and I want to retire. Like, that's a problem. Like, I need to figure this out so that I'm not like, I've got a little bit to go here. So I realized I needed to find something that was more in alignment with my soul, you know? And so I went on this journey. I took a quiz. We were talking about this right before that. I took this quiz to actually, it's so many questions to just kind of tell me, what would you be good at? And I remember getting like 9 different job titles and being like, okay, that's interesting. There's some here that I really resonate with and others that scare me. It was like healer, life coach, singer, motivational speaker, all these titles. And I remember being like, what if I was a life coach? Like, what if I started there? That sounds safe, but also exciting. And so I went on this journey to just following that as a passion project, started it on the side, and then ended up scaling it through my intuition. And at some point I was able to quit my corporate job and do this full time. And then, what I've found to be true is our purpose evolves as we evolve. So I want to take the pressure off of people being like, I have to find my one purpose for being here. Like, we have so many more than just one singular purpose for being here, and it will evolve as we evolve. So for instance, if someone was like, you're going to be a shaman, I would have been like, I don't know what that means. Like, what do you mean by that? That scares me. What do you mean? And so through the transition from life coaching, I started to recognize, like, kind of interested in Reiki. I'm kind of interested in, my intuition and unlocking my spiritual gifts. And so that was the journey to then, my own shaman healer was like, you're being called into shamanism. Does that resonate? And I remember being like, it feels like a yes in my body, but let me Google what is a shaman, And so just through my intuition, it's kind of built itself into what it is now. And I'm just eternally grateful for that, to have just continued to follow my passion, my purpose, but all through my own intuition is kind of how it built itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's awesome. So you mentioned, being able to clear limiting beliefs and trauma in a single healing session.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that differ from traditional, like, talk therapy that most people are more familiar with?
Yeah. So therapy is amazing. Like, I consider it like a beautiful, almost like a step one, because it's like, we got to start to move some of the energy that we're holding on to.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're speaking things out, we're actually starting to release that energy, which I think is powerful. But I think sometimes when we talk about it too much, we start to give it a lot of energy. And so something that's really powerful about some of the sessions that I do is it takes us so much deeper than what we consciously are aware of. So to talk about something, you have to be consciously aware of it, right? And so when we start to deal with the unconscious, which is 90% of the battle, 10% is what we consciously know, 90% is living in the cells of our body, living in, this lifetime and beyond, and even like past lifetimes. So when we start to be able to access, like, where is this trigger really coming from? Because it's not the trigger, it's the 10 things underneath it. Where is that living? Where did that start? When we can access that information and start to clear the energy, it's almost as if it no longer resonates with the person at all. And I've witnessed this in my own experience of suddenly realizing, like, I had a huge fear of water, like the ocean and lakes. And I realized with my own healing experience with my own healer, she was like, well, yeah, it's because you died in the water, in multiple past lives. So we need to clear that. And so, because I just remember, I'm like, there's nothing in this lifetime that would have me, have this sort of visceral response to getting in the water. Like, it was like a full-blown panic attack. And I'm like, what is this? Like, why do I feel this way? And so when we went in and we realized where the energy was living, we moved the energy across all time, space, realities. It was like, I don't even feel that anymore. Like, I feel good, but let me test it out. And then next thing you know, I'm in the ocean, in the lake, and I'm like, oh my God, I feel liberated. I feel good. Like, and you can't just talk about that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, talking will only take you so far, but if we're moving energy across all time, space, realities, that's a game changer.
Yeah. So rather than talking about it, giving it too much energy, you're just getting rid of the fear, getting rid of the hold on yourself.
Blessing and releasing it, like sending it love. I think sometimes we resist those things. We try to push it away so it comes back even louder. And it's like, just bless and release it. Move it with this loving energy, shift it, alchemize it so that you can find the freedom that your soul desires.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you blend the spiritual insights and, everything you've learned through shamanism and healing into your business advice with your entrepreneurial coaching?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's the both and. Like, it's not just about like meditate and receive, like, yes, that's amazing. And we get to take inspired action too. So I think there's like a big difference between just taking action, which we're in this like hustle culture. Like, we're like, let's go, let's, get stuff, knock stuff out, to-do list, add it to it almost like adds things to like our self-worth, where we're like, I did 900 things today. What did you do? And it's like, I realized I was kind of losing the plot, where it was like, okay, I'm just doing a bunch of things, but it's not necessarily in alignment with what's going to get me there the fastest, like a quantum leap. And so I found that when I could connect inward and really focus into what is my intuition telling me? And before, I had to really like consciously like come inward to connect to my intuition. Now it's gotten a lot louder. Like I was telling you before, it's like, it's working out, where it's like, you don't have to do 900 reps for it to just come in, for you to have like the muscular tone that you want. It's still there. Like, you can access it because you've been working it out. And so that's the beautiful thing about intuition, is it's just there for us. Like, it's there once we've unlocked it to be able to access. And so now I'll get these intuitive hits that are like, go to this event. Like, you don't actually need to do this today, or call that person today, or follow up on that. So timing is really important. I've found, like, if I'm really turned off by something on my to-do list, there's a couple reasons why. One, it could be a fear that I need to heal, or two, it could be just that the timing is off. And I've seen this happen in my life so often, where I'm like, I should call that person back, but for some reason the timing doesn't feel right. And then a week will go by, and then they'll pop in my head, and then I'll be like, oh my gosh, let me call them back right now. And it's like, oh my gosh, this landed at the perfect time. I'm so glad you called me today because blah, blah, blah. Right? So trusting in the intuitive hits that we're getting, but also taking action, I think, is really important. And so when we think about building a business, we don't just want to build a business that's 6, 7, 8 figures, because when we get there, we're going to be like, okay, I didn't build this in alignment with my soul, and now it just feels heavy and like a lot of work. We want to be able to build it in alignment with our soul so that we have the vitality to continue to scale it and maintain it. And from there, it's like, well, I would do it on the weekends. I'm having so much fun doing it. Of course I'll do it. So that's something that I think is really important about building and scaling a business, is like, do it in alignment with you. And the example I always give is like, if you're a morning person, but your coach is telling you that she makes 7 or 8 figures taking all of her calls at night because she's a night owl. So you're like, well, hey, that's one way to do it. And if it works for her, then maybe I'll do it. And then you're like, why am I so tired? I don't want to do it. I don't want to take my call. It's 9 p.m. What am I doing? You've built a business that's someone else's blueprint. it's in alignment with their soul, not yours. So follow your own blueprint. Follow what your soul is desiring to build so that you have the vitality to scale it and maintain it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And I think hustle culture is so big nowadays. And it's like, well, this is working for me. I'm doing this, and this. And of course, some things we can take away from that and some things will help. But is it something that you truly want to be doing and that you feel like you should be doing?
Exactly.
And it's going to fuel your soul, right?
Yes, exactly. It's so important to connect in and say, like, is this mine or is this what my mom said I should do when I was 4? Yeah. Like, I always ask myself the question, like, who am I subordinating to right now? Like, there's some things, yes, we get to follow rules, we get to pay taxes, like, okay, yes. But in other things where it's like, I should do this, well, says who?
Right.
Who am I subordinating to right now that I have to do that thing? And so that always really helps me because I'm like, yeah, that doesn't actually feel good in my body. I don't actually want to do it that way in all of life, in business, in life, in all of these different ways where it's like, yeah, that's not working for me anymore. I think I'm going to release that one. It's not mine.
Absolutely. Something you always say in relation to that is like, whose race are you running? Are you running for yourself or are you running someone else's race? And you can only imagine how it would feel when you finally start doing things for yourself rather than feeling like I'm just doing this because it's on my to-do list.
Exactly. That's a big one. Whose race am I running? Yeah. Because I think sometimes this is how I really like to dig into manifestations too, is like, we'll often be like, here's the thing that I want. I want to make 7 figures. So we focus on the goal, but instead, if we could just focus on how would that feel if I received it? What is 7 figures getting you? It's not money. If I gave you seven figures right now, if I give you $1 million and I put it in your bank account and you had it, but I said, you can't touch it, then that's what you have. You can't do anything with it. You're not allowing yourself to experience a feeling that it's giving you. And so that's the beautiful thing about, well, what would that give you? What would it have you feel? It's an opportunity for you to be able to say yes to more of your soul, right? And so what does that feel like in my body? That feels like freedom. That feels like joy. That feels like expansion. That feels like excitement, right? So I always say, in the race, follow the feeling, not the goal. Because sometimes we think it's this, and then we get that, and we're like, this isn't it. That's how marketing was for me. Where it was like, okay, I keep climbing the corporate ladder, I'm running the race, I'm checking all the boxes, and I got there and I didn't experience the feeling. And so that had me realize I was running someone else's race. And so when I started to connect into, okay, what do I want to feel though? I'm like, I want to feel freedom. I want to feel time freedom. I want to feel like I can say yes to the things that light me up, that I can gift things to people that I love, that I can buy organic foods for my family, but I can also be lit up when I wake up in the morning and be excited about the work that I'm doing. And so it had me realize like, oh, I was running a race that like isn't even in alignment with any of those feelings at all. Let me shift it. And that's how I built that passion project, which was life coaching, that then transitioned into what I'm doing full time now, which is the healing, the shamanic healing, the business intuitive, support, things like that.
Absolutely. And you also have a podcast, You Unlimited, top 10% worldwide. Yeah. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely. So you talk a lot about wealth energetics, emotional mastery. Yeah. So how do you choose those topics as focal points? And then what would you say, like how they relate to your personal mission? Obviously you grew through this whole process in yourself and learning how those things relate to business and your personal life. Yeah. How do you choose what you like to talk about in your podcast, and what are your favorite things to talk about, I guess?
Yeah. So it's a great question. I would say it was a culmination of what I needed to scale my own business. And I was recognizing like, I have to do this deep healing work to get to the space that I want to be. And so through that, as we start thinking about emotional mastery, I think if you had asked me 10 years ago, what's emotional mastery, I would have been like, not showing your feelings, like not crying, like, holding it all in, like showing up when you feel sad, even if you really don't want to be somewhere. But now I'm recognizing what emotional mastery is really honoring your feelings, but doing it in a way that's supportive for you and the people around you. Because I think when we hold on to things, we end up exploding on the people that we're closest to, right? Or even ourselves. Like we end up speaking really unkindly to ourselves. And so through emotional mastery, what you're doing is you're starting to recognize, one, when you're triggered. Your business is going to trigger you in different ways so that you can expand to be able to hold the amount of wealth and impact you desire to move through you. But we have to grow to be able to expand into that. And so that's where the emotional mastery comes through, is like allowing ourselves to expand into what it is that we know we came here to impact humanity with. And so how do we do that? Through emotional mastery, through feeling our feelings, through somatic release. That is something that is such a powerful tool that we forget. So much of what we are moving through in life is stored in the cells of our body. And if we're not moving it in some way, shape, or form, it will live there and it will manifest in different ways. And that's why I think a lot of people are experiencing different things with their health. The way that we see it from the shamanic perspective and the way that I channel this information is it's calcified energy in a spot in the body. So if you're like, my left shoulder hurts, well, your left shoulder is telling you a story. There's energy there that wants to move, but you've blown it off, right? So now it's going to speak really loudly and you're going to have to start to listen to it or not, but it's still asking you to move it. That's why we go to the root of it, the emotional mastery of it. Like, why is this showing up in the first place versus treating the symptom? Like, let me take pain medication for it. Why is the pain there in the first place? Like, let's go to the root of that. So that's emotional mastery, is like really connecting into, why am I being triggered as I'm scaling my business? Why do I not want to show up? Why don't I want to be seen? All the stories that we tell ourselves as we're building a business, there's a reason why, and we just have to clear that. So there's a lot of healing work that happens in emotional mastery and a lot of honoring of the emotion itself, because it's there to tell a story. And so when we can witness the story, move the energy, it clears the road for us to be able to scale the way that we want to. And so wealth energetics too, that came to be with my own journey with wealth, where I was like, why am I capped at this number? Or why can't I scale? Or what is my fear here? Why won't I look at my numbers? What is that all about? And so I realized there was a lot of stories that I had that I, one, needed to heal, needed to move, but also money is just energy. And I think when I started to really connect to, like, it's dirty paper and numbers on a screen, right? Like, that's all it is, but I'm giving it a story right now. So what's the story? Mm-hmm. And how can I start to heal that so that I have a neutral and a positive relationship with money? And so that's where the wealth energetic starts to come in, is like when we have that positive flow with energy and the money, it allows it to flow in more easily. And so another part of wealth energetics too is like, I think about how many times I've signed up for a masterclass. Like, have you done that where you've just signed up for free masterclasses and maybe shown up or not shown up, or something free where you're like, maybe I'll show up for this, maybe I won't?
Yeah, no, I have done a couple networking events, yes. Different things like that.
Yeah. So there's a difference between if I'm putting my energy into something, like I'm paying for something, versus I'm just giving someone my email and maybe I'll show up, maybe I won't. So there's a difference between that energy. So to kind of paint the picture when we think about wealth energetics is, if I sign up for a free masterclass, I may or may not go. But if I spent $10,000 on a VIP day with 2 mentors that I am dying to learn from, I'm booking my ticket, my butt is going to be there early, I'm allowing myself to really lean in and receive the medicine from that experience. And so what I'm doing as the person who's putting energy in is it's allowing me to receive what I really desire to receive. I'm saying, like, this matters to me. Let me put my energy in there, versus I'm just going to maybe sign up, maybe not type of thing. So there's a different energetic exchange there. And then you think about the person that's receiving the energy from you, they can then show up to their highest potential because they have energy to be able to show up and say, I'm not doing 50 things at once. And oh, this is also another thing on my to-do list. They're being well compensated so they can drop in and fully serve. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I think that's beautiful. And I think that's a huge thing because, I mean, especially starting a business, you are doing it to make a living, of course, but being able to have a healthy relationship with how much money you're making and of course what you're doing as well is going to make all the difference.
Yes.
Because you take out that toxic, like I'm not hitting the goal that I reached for myself. And then you have the negative self-talk and everything else on top of that. And so I think creating a healthier relationship is so important, and it just changes the game for you.
It changes the game. Yeah. I think it's so important to recognize it is a relationship, and it's just energy. And when we start to really connect to the fact that it's just energy and I have an energetic charge towards something, we can start to clear it and better understand, where did that come from? How can I shift it so that more can flow through me? Because a lot of times people experience energetic blocks where they're like, no, too much, too fast. I can't take on that amount of responsibility. Or if I receive money, my mother doesn't love me. Whatever those stories are, all the money is doing is having you look at what's happening on a soul level so you can clear it. It's a really powerful clearing tool. So I think money is incredible in that kind of way, that it allows us to really connect to what are my stories here? What's not working for me? Because if it's not working here, it's not working in other areas of my life too.
Right. Can you share a story about maybe a client whose life or business took a quantum leap forward after working with you and, working through your process?
So I had one client that we've been working together for about a year and a half. And actually, has it been a year and a half? Maybe not. Time sometimes is like, wild. So,
time is weird.
Yeah. So I had one client who, through the work that we've done by clearing the limiting beliefs that were in the way of what it is that she wanted, she was able to manifest in hundreds and thousands of dollars in cash, which really underneath all of that, it's because she had these huge blocks around, I can only make money when I need it. So she was going through a divorce at the time. And so she needed to manifest in a lot of money for that experience. And so she was manifesting it. And so then the divorce happened and then she stopped manifesting it. And so then we connected into, well, why do we have to wait until you need it to start to really allow you to receive it at all times? You can have overflow all the time. So we started to clear a lot of those beliefs around, I don't have to just receive it when I need it. I can receive it when I desire it and when it wants to move through me. Because we started really connecting to also, like, what are you going to do with that money? Like, it's not, because I think there were some stories around, like, would it be selfish if I made this kind of money? It's like, well, let's talk about that. What would you do with the money if you did? Well, I would buy organic foods for my family. I would, give myself more space to be able to meditate, connect to, my spiritual growth. I'd be able to invest in portals like this, right? Our one-on-one coaching container. I'd be able to, and I'm like, so now you're witnessing as money moves through you, more beauty is created in the world. And so it was really powerful because when we were stepping into a new container, she was like, okay, I have to connect in, like maybe I can manifest the money to be able to bring it forward. And then all of a sudden she manifested $25,000 in like a week. And so it's like, this happens as quickly as we desire, but we have to move the things that are in the way of us getting there. So that's one where it's like, I have clients all the time manifesting large amounts of money, which I think has people kind of perk up. But underneath all of that, it's the ability to say yes to what their soul really wants and the ability to witness that, like, there's magic available to us. And I think so often we think, oh, it's just for that person. Oh, that must be nice. That person can do it, but I can't. Those are just stories. All of us can do that. And so that's been really powerful. Another powerful story is just about the ability to unlock our spiritual gifts. So I think, a lot of times I attract people who kind of have access to their intuition, but they want to amplify it. That's a really fun one too, is like, it creates these miracle moments that allow things to happen where suddenly it's like, again, like the Amberly Lago story, where it was like, we were at, in the right room at the right time. And it allowed this beautiful culmination of, like, we were supposed to meet. That happens with my clients all the time, where they're like, I'm following my intuition now. I met someone that's, one, my soulmate. Two, because it doesn't just work in business, it works in all areas of our life. One, my soulmate. Two, oh my gosh, we're going to partner together. Three, this is a person I want on my podcast. Stuff like that, where, miracles start to unfold when we access the magic that's available to us all the time. And I think that's a big part of the portal, is like, yes, we're manifesting money, but what we're really doing is they're activating the parts of their soul that have been dormant because they haven't had the money to expand, or they haven't had the freedom, the time freedom to expand into it. And so when they start to create more spaciousness to let more of that flow through, all of a sudden more of them is available. They're living a more authentic life. They have so much more freedom, so much more happiness. Like, ultimately, that's what client success looks like, to be honest.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, it has to be a huge mindset shift,
yeah.
right? Thinking differently in that way. Would you say the mindset shift, of course you can give them practices and give them different things to kind of help in that, but would you say it's more of like an instant thing, or does it take some time to really fine tune your practice and be able to recognize what does feel good for your soul?
So it's mind, body, spirit connection. I think when we move energy, kind of similar to what I was talking about before, when we can move some deep rooted energy and we can call back in sometimes our lost soul parts, like as shamans, that's what we can do. We can alchemize it, raise it to the highest vibration, reintegrate it into the body. We can feel instantaneously different. And I hear that from clients all the time. Like, at the end of the session, they're like, I've been working on that for 40 years in therapy. Like, what just happened? Like, I don't even resonate with the story before. So it can be that quickly. if their soul is ready for it to be that quickly. So it's a two-way street where it's like the person has to be fully immersed and know that the healing will work for them to fully receive the healing. You know, if someone's stepping in and they're like kind of in, kind of not, they have like, you know, they're a little cautious, it's not going to be as effective because they're not as open to receiving the miracle that is possible. But that's why I really only attract clients that are like, I'm all in, like, let's go. I'm ready. Like, I'm spiritual. I'm ready to connect in. I'm ready to see how deep this can go. And that's why they receive it so quickly, is because they trust in the process and they're open to receiving the miracles that unfold when we move the energy. And that's why they receive it so quickly. So it's a two-way street for sure.
Beautiful. And I think that this is absolutely a game changer, combining the spirituality with the business and different strategies in that. And so as the landscape of the two combining evolves, where do you see the most promising like opportunities for growth?
So, you know what I think is really fun is I was just featured in Forbes talking about how you can change your entire life by pulling in intuition along with data to make business decisions. So it was really powerful to start to witness, one, Forbes is coming online and saying like, we want people to talk about intuition, not just data-driven, you know, analytics. Now, does data matter? Absolutely. Like we get to use that and our intuition. And so that's what I think is so powerful is like, as we start to bring the two together, it's like this beautiful sweet spot of like, even when something looks amazing on paper, if your intuition is telling you don't do it, there's a reason why. And we witness this in personal relationships where maybe we go on a date and this person looks perfect on paper. The numbers are all adding up. Like he's got this, he's got that. Yes. He's got
checking
the dog.
all the boxes.
Checking all the boxes. And then somewhere within our intuition, we're like, he's just not my person. I can't tell why, but he's not my person. And so that's an invitation to us to actually follow that and say, even if it looks good on paper, let's hold space for something that's more in alignment. And so that's where I feel like this is being taken, is when we think about our intuition being brought into the discussion, we're not just settling for something that checks the boxes, right? We're now starting to say like, but is it mine? Because just because it checks boxes, whose boxes are they in the first place? Are they even mine? Or are they the boxes my mom told me I needed to have checked? Right? So we start to connect to, but again, there's something there that's missing. Okay, there's a different box that you haven't even thought of. Maybe that you haven't even noticed that would actually bring in something different to the table. And so when we start to release, bless and release, because just because that person isn't yours doesn't mean he's not someone else's. Like he's going to find his soulmate, right? So you're creating spaciousness to call in the person that's in alignment, the business partnership that's in alignment, the next step, the next offer that's in alignment, so that we can start to actually release the stuff that's doing okay or that's kind of great, but it's not it. So when we can bring intuition into the conversation, it has us be even more in alignment with our soul and have even more vitality to build in that direction. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
100%. And what would be like the best piece of advice you would give to someone who is feeling stuck, whether it's, you know, in business, in their financial, you know, aspects of their life, or even just their personal life? If they're feeling stuck and they want to be more in alignment with their soul and want to practice more intuition, what would be, you know, the first step or best advice you could give them?
Get to know yourself. I think we've lost ourselves, or I lost myself through, you know, childhood. It was like, I knew myself. I was like putting on plays and singing, and I was singing into my, you know, my hairbrush. Like I knew that there was something there that I was like, oh, like there's something about me that just loves to share my voice, speak my truth. And then I started to lose that as I got older through, you know, different stories. Don't be so loud. You're not allowed to do that. You know, all these different reasons why we shut down who we are authentically. So the best piece of advice is get to know yourself and what lights you up. And there's different ways of doing that. I took quizzes online. I leaned in with a life coach. I started working with a healer so that I could better understand, like, what are my blocks? What are my blinders? Because sometimes we need an unbiased person to kind of shed light on the things that we're blind to, right? And so through that, I was then able to start to better understand my authentic truth and start to honor it and start to recognize when I didn't want to honor it because it was scary, because it was I was coloring outside of the lines though if I did that. And so working with a healer allowed me to recognize, like, whose lines are these anyways? Like, play outside of the box, play outside of the lines, and let's normalize that. Let's have that feel really good in your body. So the best piece of advice I could give you is start to better understand who you are, what it is that you most desire in this lifetime, through different modalities that light you up, whether that's coaching, healing, journaling, right? Different things like that, taking quizzes online. That's going to have you get to know yourself in a brand new way, and then really allow yourself to honor what you receive. Because these ideas don't want to sit in shoeboxes. They want to be brought into existence. So don't just receive the download or the channeled piece of information, do something with it. Follow it. And where you're feeling fear, work with someone that can help you move that energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's beautiful. I honestly think the work that you're doing and just allowing people to recognize that the spiritual gift that they have is so important, and the universe needs it.
Yes.
The people want it because you have something so special. I mean, everyone has something so special about them that is just dying to get out.
Yes.
And I think it's really beautiful that you are able to do that for them, whether it's personal in a healing sense or in a business sense, you know, getting them to where they want to be.
Yeah.
In that sense. So, Christina, this has been so awesome.
Agreed.
I feel like I've learned so much from you, and I'm so excited to continue our relationship
Me too.
throughout our journeys. So if you want to tell the audience where to find you, if you have a website, Instagram, all of the things.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I would love to connect with you if you're tuning in. So on Instagram, my handle is @I am Christina Deering, so DEERING. You can also find me at ChristinaDeering.com, or come play. If you like podcasts, come play in the You Unlimited space. That is my top 10% podcast. We have incredible entrepreneurs in that space, 6, 7, 8+ figure entrepreneurs that talk about all the ways that they failed while they were building what it is that they desired, the ways that they succeeded. There's, of course, a spiritual element to it where we can go really deep into the woo-woo stuff, but also let's make it work for us. So we would love to have you in that community. So those are some of the main places where I play. You can also find me on YouTube as well. You can see the actual YouTube or the You Unlimited episodes there if you're like, I want to witness the energy, the energetic exchange. So on YouTube as well, my name is @I am Christina Deering. I'd love to play with you there.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Christina.
Yeah,
that was so fun. Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Lasting Impressions with Lauren. We'll see you next time.